69-3, Tennessee opens the 2024 campaign with what we expected, a beat down at UTC. The offense was flying. Nico looked awesome. What a way to start the year. We'll break it down here on this PostCast, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Saturday evening, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Vols. It is your team every single day. This is a special postcast edition, a post-game show here following Tennessee's 69-3 win over UTC. I'm your host, Eric Cain. Thank you so much for being here, making Locked On Vols part of your normal morning routine. I know you're listening to us here on a Saturday night or maybe even Sunday morning. We'll be back on Monday. We'll have scoring plays, some grades, and we'll dive into this this game even more in depth after I've watched it again on the tape and had a chance to kind of go back and dig into it a little bit more. This is behind the curtain a little bit. Did the game, of course. Did all my post-game work for VolQuest.com. Got in my car, came home, and now I'm jumping in front of a camera. Not a whole lot of notes. I mean, I got a game book in front of me, so I've got some stats, but not a rundown or anything. It's just two segments here, Locked On Vols, about 20 minutes or so, just kind of getting into it in terms of, you know, what just happened. Some raw reaction, essentially, is what it is. First takeaway overall is just, I mean, you know, Tennessee played bad teams last year. Tennessee played some bad teams in years past, and, you know, with the exception of 2022 and the exception of 2021 a little bit, so more so speaking about, you know, last year and, of course, prior to the Josh Heupel era. And that's what it's supposed to be, right? I mean, Tennessee scored, 21 points in the first, what was it? They were leading 21-0, 7:18 into the first quarter. I mean, with 7:18 left in the first quarter, Tennessee was leading 21-0. Tennessee came out flying. Tennessee marched down the field and scored on an 11-play, 65-yard drive, converted a fourth down on play number 10 of that drive, and Dylan Sampson plunged into the end zone for 1 yard. Tennessee scored with an Ethan Davis 4-yard touchdown reception. Later on the second possession, it was 14-0, and then it was a quick 2-play drive. It was a long pass to Chris Brazzell down the sideline, and then to Dante Thornton, 36 yards, and Tennessee was up 21-0. Tennessee had a field goal of Max Gilbert that was 24-0, and then that was the first quarter score. And then in the second quarter, Dylan Sampson scored, Dante Thornton scored, Dylan Sampson scored. Tennessee led 45-0 at halftime. In the third quarter, it was a field goal from Chattanooga on its opening possession. That's the only points that the Mocs would get in the entire day. That was a 9-play, 50-yard drive that took a little under 5 minutes off the clock, and it was 45-3 at that point in time. But then Max Gilbert tacked on another one, 42 yards, make it 48-3. Deshaun Bishop found pay dirt for 22 yards out, 55-3. Khalifa Keith scored on a 1-yard touchdown run, 62-3. And then Jordan Ross blocked a punt, recovered the blocked punt, and then scored from 13 yards out, 69-3. The final score. I mean, when you play inferior opponents, that is exactly kind of the script that it's supposed to have, right? And sometimes it doesn't work out that way. I mean, look at NC State on Thursday night. They played Western Carolina. There are some people saying that NC State can win the ACC. That NC State team the other day will not win the ACC. Now, will Tennessee get a better version of NC State in Charlotte? I 100% believe so. And we'll talk a ton of NC State as the week goes on. Don't worry about that. But sometimes it doesn't go according to plan. I mean, last year, you know, Tennessee Austin Peay. That did not go according to plan for the University of Tennessee. So for Tennessee to go out there, 69-3, Chattanooga is a good FCS team, but this was never supposed to be a big-time game. This was never supposed to be a close game. This was the expected outcome. The spread was at 38.5 per FanDuel, actually went up to 39 at the morning of kickoff. The over-under was 56.5, and we told you to hit the over on both of those, right? Tennessee to cover, hit the over on the total. I know my score prediction was 55-13, but still, nonetheless, it was the over on the total. This was the expected outcome, but the way they did it in dominating fashion, I thought was really, really cool. So, Nico was incredible. Sets a Tennessee half record for throwing for 314 yards and a half. 313 yards was what Tyler Bray threw against Troy back in 2012. He was the former record holder, but Nico played only one half of football. He was 22 of 28. He started, I believe, 11 for 11, but he was 22 of 28, 314 yards, 3 touchdowns. He completed 79% of his passes, And yes, Chattanooga is nothing. I understand that. Tennessee's going to play pretty much everybody else on their schedule is going to be much better than Chattanooga, but the efficiency was right on, right? I mean, Joe played bad teams last year too. Joe didn't do that. In fact, here's an interesting point, and I'm not trying to put down Joe Milton. I'm just trying to show you the context of this, of how impressive is what Nico did the other day, or today. Nico throws for 314 yards in one half of football. Joe Milton threw for 300 yards for the first time in his Tennessee career, his final game in a Tennessee uniform, Vanderbilt last year to end the regular season. So it just felt different, right? It just felt a little bit different. Dylan Sampson, I thought, looked rested. I thought he looked really good for a guy that certainly didn't get a whole lot of work against Tennessee in terms of fall camp. He was 12 carries, 124 yards, 3 touchdowns, had the hat trick. He loves opening days, right? He had the hat trick, and that was good to see. I thought Cam Seldon looked strong. I thought Cam Seldon had a couple of nice runs. He averaged 6.7 yards per carry. Deshaun Bishop had a really, really nice day, and I'm so happy for him. Scored a touchdown, averaged 12 yards on 5 carries, finished with 60 yards. Thought Tennessee's run game, and Tennessee's should have dominated in the run game no matter what. I mean, Tennessee in this football game ran for 304 yards. If you didn't run for a couple hundred yards, that would be a red flag in my opinion. So Tennessee dominated the run game as it should. Brew McCoy came back and looked good. Chris Brazel, I thought, looked really, really good. But how about Dante Thornton? Love me some Dante Thornton. Again, Chattanooga, disclaimer, we'll say that over and over and over the next couple of days. But Dante Thornton, 3 receptions, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good for him. That was really, really good to see him do what he did. So, and I thought the touch pass, I know we're talking receivers, but I thought the touch pass to Ethan Davis was one of the better throws from Nico there on drive number 2. So, this is exactly what Tennessee was supposed to do, okay? We'll talk a little defense here in a moment, but offensively, you wanted to put on a show. We'll get to some reaction here in segment number 2, and we'll talk some defense as well. I saved a couple tweets I want to share with you guys, but this is what was supposed to happen. You were supposed to put on a show, and Tennessee racked up 718 yards of total offense. That is 7 yards short of the Josh Heupel high while at Tennessee. I believe it was 2021 when they ran all over Missouri. That was the season high, or that was the Josh Heupel high at Tennessee in terms of total offense. Tennessee comes up 7 yards short of that here in this game. 718 yards of total offense, 414 yards through the air, 304 yards on the ground. Tennessee was not a high penalized team in this one. That's good to see. 6 penalties for 52 yards. Tennessee had 36 first downs, 14 in the first quarter alone, 21 in the first half. 36 first downs in this football game compared to 10 for UTC. Tennessee was 9 of 15 on third downs. Tennessee was 1 of 1 on fourth downs. That was on the opening drive of the game, much like last year against Virginia. Tennessee went forward down inside the 10-yard line on fourth down, got it, scored the next play. Tennessee ran 90 plays in this football game. Average yards per completion was 12.5. Average yards per play was 8 yards for Tennessee. Tennessee was 7 for 7 in the red zone. Tennessee was 29 minutes and 10 seconds of how much it possessed. Again, it was just offensively, you couldn't ask for much more. And that was exactly what was expected in a game like this against an inferior opponent. So hats off to Nico. I thought he looked awesome. Thought he was exciting. Thought he looked good. And it was good to see. Again, I can think of a couple of plays off the top of my head, and I'll watch it again on the tape whenever I go back and I'll rewatch this game later tonight or tomorrow. There were a couple of plays where he was flushed out of the pocket and he had to go make a play, and he did. He kept his eyes down the field, evaded the pressure, got to the sideline, threw it downfield, and picked up a first down. And that's something this offense has missed. That is something that this offense has missed certainly since Hendon Hooker, and you didn't really have it last year with Joe Milton. So anyway, I thought the offense did exactly what it was supposed to do. Explosive plays, I'll count those up. I'll have them on Monday's show when we talk about it, but explosive plays, scoring in bunches, and Tennessee starts off by putting 69 points on the scoreboard in game number 1 of the 2024 season. So how about that? Hey, when we come back, I'll take a look at the defense, and we will discuss some of the reaction that we saw on social media during this football game and shortly thereafter. That's coming up next as we continue here on a postcast edition of Locked On Vols. Tennessee final score 69-3 over UTC. What to say about our friends over at 5 Hour Energy? Are you tired after lunch? You're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit a wall after lunch. Let 5 Hour Energy, let that shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing down to it. 5 Hour Energy shots give you the feeling of alertness, energy that you need to get into the zone. And, it's a busy football weekend. Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot to stay alert watching all of your favorite games. Or if you're staying up late to see an intense overtime game, take a 5 Hour Energy shot in the morning so you can start your busy day. With zero sugar, convenient portable sides, it's the perfect pick-me-up to getting stuff done. 5 Hour Energy websites has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and so much more. There's something for everyone. You can try them as well on site or on the website. You even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You can choose from flavors, and it'll be delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy products today. Use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is valid through September 30th on one order, cannot be used on another promotion. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today, put in my promo code LOCKEDONCFB, and get that energy boost that you need with 5 Hour Energy. Hey, welcome back to your PostCast edition. Tennessee, a winner in week 1 of the college football season. 69-3 is the final score. I went over a little bit of the offense, kind of reacted there. And then my biggest takeaway from defense, honestly, I kind of wanted to see more, right? And I don't know if that's how you felt as well. I mean, you look up at the scoreboard, and I don't care who you're playing, how inferior that opponent is or whatever. You hold them, to under 300 yards of total offense and just 3 points on the scoreboard. That's a pretty solid day. Now, UTC gathered 227 yards of total offense and scored 3 points, had 3 points to show for it. So the defense certainly had a fine day. Do not hear me wrong. But it only forced one turnover. I kind of wanted to see some more takeaways. I kind of wanted to see Tennessee forcing some more turnovers. Now, part of that is the quarterback. That's a pretty good one. Chase Artapias, was getting the football out of his hands in a hurry. Was doing everything he could to get it out in a hurry because, of course, you're not going to have much time against the Tennessee defensive line, especially with what's, blocking in front of you. It's just there's a difference in the level of play. And so because he was getting the ball out of his hands in a hurry, there wasn't a whole lot of down the field passing. So there wasn't a whole lot of times to go out there and make some plays, if you will, with the ball in the air. But that's not everything. I mean, Tennessee had one sack. It was Tyree West. Boy, was it a good-looking play. He had a sack. Tyree West also had a forced fumble where he came and knocked the ball loose from behind, and that led to Tennessee's second touchdown, I believe, of the day. Let's see here. Yeah, 35 yards. That set up the Ethan Davis 4-yard touchdown reception from Nico. So, I mean, there were some plays made, don't get me wrong, but, I mean, I think Tennessee only had, again, that one sack from Tyree West. I think Tennessee had 5 TFLs. So not a whole lot of stuff on the other side of the line of scrimmage. But, again, I wouldn't take too much stock into this. It's not like the defense played poorly at all. I'm nitpicking here. I mean, the defense, did exactly what it was supposed to do. Also, the defense rotated the entire game. It's not like Tennessee's starters were in there for the first quarter and then they started emptying the bench. No, Tennessee rotated the entire game. And so when you saw Will Brooks and Andre Turrentine coming back out to start the second half, they didn't play the entire first quarter. I mean, the entire first half. They were rotating in with some other guys. Christian Charles played and Jacoby Thomas played. I thought Jacoby Thomas flashed a little bit. At linebacker, I thought Keenan Peely made a couple of plays. Up front, again, I thought it was Tyree West. And, James Pierce played in this football game. Don't worry, guys. A lot of people are saying, where's Pierce? Where's Pierce? Haven't heard anything about him being banged up or hurt. I know that he didn't have a stat or a tackle. He didn't have a sack. But he was out there playing. Don't get me wrong. He was out there playing. It's just, why take the risk of hurting your superstar in a game like this when you're already leading 21-0 after the first 6-7 minutes of the football game? It just make a whole lot of sense. But, overall, I thought the defense was fine. Defense held Chattanooga to 74 yards rushing. The defense held Chattanooga to 153 yards through the air. And when you're down 21-0 the first 6-7 minutes in the football game and you only have 153 yards passing, I think that's impressive. A lot of people are like, oh, Jaden Daniels, he threw all over Tennessee's defense. I mean, he had over 300 yards that game. Tennessee drilled LSU on the Bayou. Well, LSU was down 14-0 when Tennessee got off the bus. They were throwing a ton. So for them, Chattanooga to be playing from behind as much as they were and still only have 153 yards passing, I think that's a job well done. The Tennessee's unit, the front the front four, the rotation up there, of course, the linebackers, and that new look secondary. So, I mean, yeah, I thought Tennessee's defense did a pretty good job. Here's a good stat. When I wish there were more takeaways, when I wish there were more plays made on the defense side of the football, maybe. Look at this stat. Chattanooga was 1 of 14 on third downs. 1 of 14 on third downs. That's really, really good. Tennessee was buckled up, and Tennessee did not let them score. In the red zone, I think they had one red zone opportunity. Red zone. Okay, they scored 1 of 2 chances in the red zone. They kicked that field goal. So Tennessee buckled up on third down. Tennessee buckled up in the red zone, and I thought Tennessee did a really, really good job defensively. You look at the overall stat leaders for Tennessee. Will Brooks led the way with 5 tackles. I mean, so many different people played, so a lot of people recorded stats. Jeremiah T-Lander, Jalen Smith at linebacker had 4 tackles. Arian Carter, Elijah Simmons, Edris Farouk, Joshua Josephs, Omar Norman Lott, Dominic Bailey all had 3 tackles, so on and so forth. But again, it was, kind of just one of those games that I expected. The inferior opponent was going to take a while to get the ball out of their hands, and Tennessee still did a really, really good job. Do want to draw your attention to a couple of tweets here as we say goodbye, and we'll have plenty of more stuff on Monday's show. I'll break down, we'll hear scoring plays. I'll have a chance to go back and watch the game again, so I'll make some notes, all that and more. Do want to highlight a couple of tweets that I bookmarked. Dante Stallworth, VFL, he says, a few telltale signs of a really good quarterback are they can attack the seams, middle of the field, versus post safety, and the middle of the field and down the boundary versus cover 2. Meaning cover 2, your safeties are taking one half of the field all the way, and so you're forcing it down the boundary in cover 2, meaning the safety has the sideline as his friend, but you're connecting on those type of passes. Nico's done, back to the tweet, Nico has done all of that already in the first quarter. I'm giddy over here with a couple of different emojis. That's from Dante Stallworth, former Tennessee wide receiver. Peter Burns of the SEC Network, of course, he was in town. He was walking around Market Square Friday night. He was in there for SEC Nation that morning before the game. They led you into kickoff. Peter Burns said, final thoughts while leaving Neyland Stadium. Nico isn't as good as advertised. He's better. His arm plus mobility equals problems. Vols' rushing attack behind this O-line is going to give teams fits. Defensive front is stacked. If they can stay healthy, they could be a college football playoff team. That was from Peter Burns, of course, of the SEC Network. So a lot of good things were said about the University of Tennessee during the game, after the game, and there's going to be a lot of good things that I'm going to have to say on Monday when I go back and watch the film and kind of break down some stuff. I'll get you some snap counts as well on Monday, so we'll know exactly how many snaps all these guys played. But again, overall, there's not a whole lot more to say on this. I thought Tennessee dominated the run game. Tennessee dominated the line of scrimmage. I thought Nico was incredible. I'm going to go back and look at that Gaston Moore interception and see if it was a bad throw, if it was the receiver's fault, or maybe a little bit of both. Jake Merklinger came in. He was 4 on 4 attempts, 31 yards. Really happy for Deshaun Bishop. I'm intrigued to see kind of what his role continues to look like. I think he'll be one of the deep backs in terms of kick return with Cam Seldon all year long. But hopefully he'll continue to have a little bit of a role because I think he's earned it. And he looked really good on Saturday. He did. I mean, don't make any mistake about it. Dylan Sampson's your RB1, Cam Seldon's your RB2. But I think Deshaun Bishop deserves to get a little bit of run. I was so happy to see him score a touchdown in this football game. I got to the fourth quarter, and we hadn't seen Peyton Lewis, and I'm intrigued. I want to see that guy for sure, but man, I mean, when you're getting Dylan Sampson caught up to speed and Cam Seldon caught up to speed and rewarding Deshaun Bishop, and not just rewarding but allowing him to play because he's earned it and he's been really good this fall camp. You look around and say, okay, we need to get Peyton Lewis some work, and it wasn't until the fourth quarter when he did get some of those work. So anyway, just thoughts. This is what it was, exactly what was supposed to happen. Nico looked so good. I know it was Chattanooga's defense, but Nico, there was a lot to like about his game. I like the offensive line, the push they got. I thought Tennessee did a good job of rotating those veteran offensive linemen in there with some of the guys who have been a little bit banged up. Like Dane Davis played a lot of right tackle for John Campbell. Let's see, Jackson Lampley rotated in and played a little bit of guard there in the first half for Andre Keurig. Overall, this is exactly what happened. I mean, the worst part about today is I spilled my coffee on myself and a little bit on my laptop in the press box in game one, and it's 100 degrees outside. I'm drinking coffee. I mean, I love coffee, but Yeah, that was just such a rookie move. I was such an idiot, but that's the worst thing about today, right? I mean, the game was great, atmosphere was great, final score was great. Worst part about it is I was a rookie and spilled coffee in the press box, but that won't happen again. I can promise you that. All right, we'll come back on a Monday show, give you more details. We'll hear some scoring plays. What did it sound like on the Vol Radio Network? Some more reaction and some more notes as we continue to dive down into what this was. 69-3 Tennessee over Chattanooga. And then, of course, before long, we'll flip that script to NC State for the neutral site game in Charlotte this coming up weekend. Appreciate you guys, as always, for making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And stay tuned. We'll be back Monday morning. This is Locked On Vols.